I was holding a Gucci box when my marriage ended. It wasn't heavy. The paper was cream-colored, expensive, tied with a silk ribbon the color of champagne. My wife Vanessa stood across our dining room table, her arms crossed, her smile tight. She'd put on makeup that morning. Full face. Mascara, the red lipstick she saved for special occasions. It was our 15th anniversary. "Open it," she said. The house smelled like furniture polish, and the lavender diffuser she kept near the window. Outside, June heat pressed against the glass. The air conditioner I'd installed myself 3 years earlier hummed soft and steady. Cold systems need steady hands. That's what my old boss used to say. I'd repeated it to myself 1,000 times, elbows deep in ductwork, sweat dripping into my eyes. I pulled the ribbon. The box opened with a whisper. Inside, folded once, was a stack of papers. Divorce petition. My name typed clean across the top. Hank Michael Delaney, respondent. "I want you out by the weekend," Vanessa said. Her voice didn't shake. It was calm, rehearsed. She'd practiced this, maybe in front of the bathroom mirror, maybe with her sister on the phone. I looked up. Her eyes were dry. "Vanessa, don't." She held up one hand. The nails were painted coral. Fresh manicure. "For this has been over for a long time, Hank. You just didn't notice." My hands were still holding the box. The Gucci logo stared up at me, mocking. I set it down carefully, like it might explode. 15 years, I said. "Exactly." She exhaled through her nose. 15 years of you being you. The guy who shows up smelling like refrigerant. The guy who wears work boots to dinner. The guy who doesn't get it. The air conditioner kicked off. The silence hit hard. "I already spoke to my lawyer," Vanessa continued. "The house is mine, equitable distribution. You've been difficult to live with, emotionally absent. I have documentation." I didn't move. My pulse thumped behind my eyes, but my face stayed still. Cold systems need steady hands. "You can stay in the basement until you find a place," she added. "But I'd prefer you leave sooner. If you've ever felt invisible in your own home, hit that like button right now. This story is for you." Started at 19, fresh out of a community college program, working under a man named Floyd who taught me that air conditioning wasn't just about cold air. It was about patience, pressure, and understanding that every system had a breaking point. I met Vanessa when I was 42. She was 36, recently divorced, working front desk at a dermatology clinic. She had dark hair, sharp eyes, and a laugh that sounded expensive. We married 8 months later. Small ceremony. Her sister was maid of honor. My buddy Coop stood up for me. Vanessa wanted a house right away, something modern, something that said we'd made it. I wanted to wait, save a little more. She said waiting was for people without vision. We bought the house on Hickson Pike. 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, a backyard with a deck I built myself. The mortgage was steep, but Vanessa said it was an investment. She quit the clinic a year later, said the hours were bad for her health. I picked up side jobs, weekend work, after-hours emergencies, install a unit, replace a compressor, crawl through an attic in July heat. I didn't mind. I liked the work, liked the logic of it. A system either worked or it didn't. Vanessa started spending more time with her sister Miranda. They'd go to brunch, then shopping, then overnight trips to Nashville. "Girl time," she called it. I'd come home to an empty house, the smell of her perfume still hanging in the air, and a note on the counter asking me to pick up dinner. I'd eat standing at the sink, too tired to sit. The small humiliations started slow. One night, maybe 3 years into the marriage, we went to dinner with her friends from her old clinic job, a place downtown, dim lighting, cloth napkins. I wore a button-down I'd ironed myself. Vanessa introduced me as my husband. He works with his hands. One of her friends, a woman named Paige, smiled and said, "How quaint." Vanessa laughed. "He's very good at it. Aren't you, Hank?" I nodded, took a sip of water. The ice clinked against my teeth. Another time I was replacing the thermostat in our bedroom. Vanessa walked in, saw me on the stepladder, tools spread across the floor, and sighed. "Can't you do this when I'm not home?" she asked. "It'll take 10 minutes, I said. "That's not the point." She turned and walked out. I finished the job, cleaned up. The new thermostat worked perfectly. She never said thank you, but the worst moments were quieter, like when she'd talk over me at parties, or when her friends would ask what I did and she'd change the subject before I could answer, or when she'd say in front of her sister, "Hank doesn't really understand money." I'd sit there, hands folded, and say nothing, because arguing only made it worse. I thought it couldn't get worse. I was wrong. He ran a small practice out of a strip mall on Brainerd Road, sandwiched between a nail salon and a pawn shop. I'd been using him for years. He was thorough, cheap, and he didn't ask stupid questions. "Hank," he said, squinting at his monitor, "when did you open the business account?" I looked up from my phone. "What business account?" Jim frowned. He clicked his mouse a few times. "Capital South Bank, opened April 19th. Joint account with Vanessa. Shows here as a small business LLC. Says here it's for, consulting services." My stomach dropped. I didn't open that. Jim's frown deepened. He turned the monitor toward me. There it was. My name. My social security number. Vanessa's name as co-owner. The account had been active for 6 weeks. The balance was $43. "Where'd the money go?" I asked. Jim clicked again. "Transferred out. Looks like..." "Several withdrawals. Certified checks made out to, let's see, V. Delaney, Miranda Hoff, that's her sister, right? And something called Lux Property Management." I leaned closer. The withdrawals totaled $68,000. "That's our savings," I said quietly. Jim took off his glasses. "Hank, did you sign anything? A form? A document?" "No." "Then somebody forged your signature." He looked at me like a doctor delivering bad news. "You need to call your bank, and you need a lawyer." I sat back in the chair. The office smelled like old coffee and carpet cleaner. My hands were shaking, so I shoved them in my pockets. Cold systems need steady hands. I repeated it once under my breath. "Who's good?" I asked. "For what?" "Lawyers." Jim thought for a second. "Alan Frost. He's downtown. Does family law, some criminal. Expensive, but he doesn't lose." I didn't know it yet, but that phone call was already in motion. "If she knows you're aware, she'll move assets, destroy evidence, or file a restraining order to keep you away from the house. We need time." "How much time?" 2 weeks, maybe 3. I need to pull records, verify the forgery, and get a forensic accountant involved. In the meantime, act normal, go to work, come home, be the same Hank you've always been. I sat in my truck, the engine ticking as it cooled. The parking lot was empty except for a shopping cart somebody had left near the curb. I watched it roll slightly in the breeze. "Okay," I said. "One more thing," Alan added. "Start documenting everything. Texts, emails, receipts, anything that shows her spending or behavior. Timestamps matter, dates matter." "Got it. And Hank, don't let her see you sweat." I hung up. My hands had stopped shaking. The next 2 weeks were the longest of my life. I came home every night and smiled. I asked Vanessa how her day was. I nodded when she talked about brunch with Miranda, about a new boutique opening in North Shore, about her plans to redecorate the living room. I kept my voice even, my face calm. At night I lay in bed next to her, staring at the ceiling, listening to her breathe. During the day, I worked. I installed a new HVAC system in a split level on Signal Mountain. The homeowner, a man named Darrell, stood in the driveway and talked my ear off about his boat. I smiled and nodded. At lunch, I sat in my truck and went through bank statements on my phone. I screenshotted everything, dates, amounts, memo lines. I uploaded them to a folder Alan had set up on a secure server. I also started noticing things. Vanessa had new clothes, a leather purse I'd never seen, a bracelet that looked real. She said they were gifts from Miranda. I didn't argue. I took a picture of the bracelet when she left it on the bathroom counter. The tag was still attached. $1,400. One night, I heard her on the phone in the guest bedroom. The door was cracked. I stood in the hallway, quiet as I could. "It's fine," she was saying. "He doesn't suspect anything. He's too tired to notice." A pause. "The lawyer said it'll be clean. I get the house, he gets the debt. That's how it works when you're the primary earner." I wasn't the primary earner. I made $72,000 a year. Vanessa hadn't worked in 13 years. I walked back to the bedroom, sat on the edge of the bed, My chest felt tight, like somebody had cranked a strap around my ribs. Cold systems need steady hands. I said it again. Then I texted Alan. "She's planning something. I need to move faster." He replied 10 minutes later. "Stay the course. We're almost there." He was younger than I expected, maybe 45, with dark hair starting to grey at the temples and a suit that probably cost more than my truck payment. He had a file open on his desk, thick, my name on the tab. "Sit," he said. I sat. The chair was leather, soft. The office smelled like old books and wood polish. "Here's what we know," Alan began. He flipped the file open. "Your wife forged your signature on 3 documents. 1 to open the business account, 1 to transfer the funds, and 1 to file a quitclaim deed removing you from the house title." I felt the air leave my lungs. "She did what?" "She filed a quitclaim deed. It's a legal document that transfers ownership of property. In Tennessee, you can file one without the other party's knowledge if the notary doesn't verify the signature. She used a notary from her sister's real estate office. The notary has already been contacted by the state. She's cooperating. So the house is still legally yours. The deed was fraudulent. But here's the problem. If we move now, she can claim she acted in good faith, that there was a misunderstanding, that you verbally agreed. It becomes he said, she said. So what do we do?" Alan leaned back. "We wait until she makes her next move. Then we show she had intent, pattern of behavior. Fraud isn't just one action, it's a plan." "I already have proof," I said. I pulled out my phone, showed him the screenshots. "She's been moving money for months, small amounts. She thought I wouldn't notice." Alan studied the screen. He smiled, but it wasn't warm. It was the smile of a man who'd just found the last puzzle piece. "Mr. Delaney," he said, "you've just given me everything I need." I stood in the dining room, the divorce papers in my hand, and I almost laughed. Because while she'd been planning her exit, filing fake documents and draining accounts, I'd been building a case. Brick by brick, document by document. Cold systems need steady hands. "I'll move out by the weekend," I said. Vanessa blinked. She hadn't expected me to agree so easily. "Good," she said. "I'll have Miranda come help you pack." "No need," I replied. "I'll handle it." She nodded, turned to leave, then stopped. "Hank?" "Yeah? This isn't personal. You know that, right? We just grew apart." I looked at her, really looked. Her makeup was perfect. Her posture was straight. She looked like a woman who'd won. "Sure," I said. She walked upstairs. I heard the bedroom door close. I pulled out my phone and texted Alan. "She served me. What's next?" He replied immediately. "File your response. Then we move." Vanessa had opened the fake business account using a scanned copy of my driver's license and a forged signature. She'd moved money in increments, 5,000 here, 8,000 there, over a period of 4 months. The quitclaim deed had been notarized by Miranda's co-worker, a woman named Stephanie Rudd, who admitted under questioning that Vanessa had paid her $200 to notarize without verifying my identity. It was fraud, clear documented prosecutable fraud. Alan filed my response to the divorce petition. In it, we didn't just deny her claims, we counterclaimed. Fraud, forgery, conversion of marital assets, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. We asked for the house, full reimbursement of the stolen funds and attorney's fees. We also sent a copy to the district attorney's office. 2 days later, Vanessa's lawyer called Alan. I wasn't on the call, but Alan told me about it later. The lawyer, a man named Todd Vinson, had been calm at first, professional. He said Vanessa was willing to negotiate, split the assets 50-50, no hard feelings. Alan had laughed. "Your client committed fraud, Todd. She's looking at criminal charges. 50-50 isn't on the table." There was a long pause. Then Todd said, "What do you want?" "A meeting. Your office. Tomorrow at 10. Bring your client, bring the notary, bring anyone involved. We'll lay it out." "She won't come." "Then we'll see her in court," Alan replied, "with a prosecutor." Todd hung up. The ones with the steel toes and the oil stains. I hadn't shaved. My hands still smelled faintly like refrigerant. Todd Vinson's office was sleek. Glass walls, modern furniture, a receptionist who looked like she'd stepped out of a magazine. We waited in a conference room with a view of the Tennessee River. The table was polished to a mirror shine. I could see my reflection in it. At 10:03, the door opened. Vanessa walked in first. She was wearing a cream-colored blouse and dark slacks. Her hair was pulled back. She didn't look at me. Behind her came Todd, mid-50s, graying beard, expensive watch, then Miranda, then Stephanie Rudd, the notary. She looked scared. Everyone sat. Alan started. "Let's keep this simple. Mrs. Delaney, you forged your husband's signature on 3 separate documents. You drained a joint savings account. You filed a fraudulent quitclaim deed. You did this knowingly, with intent and with help." He glanced at Stephanie. "The evidence is irrefutable." Todd cleared his throat. "My client disputes." Alan cut him off. He slid a folder across the table. "Bank records, notarization logs, forensic analysis of the signature, a sworn statement from your notary." Stephanie flinched. Vanessa's jaw tightened. "Here's what's going to happen," Alan continued. "Mrs. Delaney will return every dollar she took. She'll sign a quitclaim deed restoring full ownership of the house to Mr. Delaney. She'll withdraw her divorce petition, or she'll proceed knowing we'll file criminal charges." "You can't prove intent," Todd said. Alan smiled. He pulled out another folder. Text messages between Mrs. Delaney and her sister, discussing getting the house before Hank figures it out. Bank records showing withdrawals made the same day the quitclaim was filed. A statement from the accountant, who helped Mrs. Delaney set up the LLC. She kept receipts, Todd, literally. The room went quiet. Vanessa's hands were flat on the table. Her nails were still painted coral. I could see her pulse in her neck. "This is manipulative," she said finally. Her voice cracked. "He's twisting everything." "No," I said. It was the first time I'd spoken. Everyone turned. "You stole from me. You lied. You tried to take my house. That's not twisting, that's fact." Her eyes filled. "I sacrificed 15 years for you." "You sacrificed nothing," I replied. "I worked 70-hour weeks while you got your nails done. I fixed the house, paid the mortgage, and kept my mouth shut when you told your friends I didn't matter. You didn't sacrifice. You used me." A tear ran down her cheek. She wiped it fast, angry. Miranda leaned over, whispered something. Vanessa shook her head. Todd closed his folder. "We need time to discuss." "No," Alan said. "You have 10 minutes. We'll wait outside." We stood. Alan gestured for me to follow. We walked out into the hallway. The door clicked shut behind us. I leaned against the wall. My heart was pounding, but my hands were steady. Cold systems need steady hands. "They'll cave," Alan said. "Todd knows he can't win this. What if they don't? Then we go to court, and she goes to jail." We waited. 8 minutes later, the door opened. Todd stepped out. His face was gray. "She'll sign," he said. We went back inside. Vanessa was sitting with her arms crossed, staring at the table. Her mascara had run slightly. Miranda had her hand on Vanessa's shoulder, but Vanessa shrugged it off. Stephanie Rudd sat in the corner, pale as paper, looking like she wanted to disappear into the wall. Alan placed a document on the table. "This is a settlement agreement. Mrs. Delaney returns all funds taken from the joint account, $68,000. She signs a corrected quitclaim deed restoring sole ownership of the house to Mr. Delaney. She withdraws her divorce petition. In exchange, Mr. Delaney will not press criminal charges." "That's it?" Miranda snapped. "She gets nothing?" "She gets to stay out of prison," Alan replied. His voice was flat, factual. "That's more than she deserves." Todd slid the document toward Vanessa. "Sign it." She didn't move. Her jaw was clenched so tight I could see the muscles working. Finally, she picked up the pen. Her hand shook. She signed her name, hard enough that the pen nearly tore through the paper. "The funds?" Alan asked. Todd opened his briefcase and pulled out a cashier's check. $68,000, made out to Hank Delaney. He slid it across the table. I picked it up. The paper was crisp, official. I folded it once and put it in my shirt pocket. "And the quitclaim?" Alan prompted. Todd produced another document. Vanessa signed it without looking up. Then Alan placed it in front of a notary he'd brought with him, a woman named Mrs. Ortiz, who worked for a title company. She verified Vanessa's signature, stamped it, signed it herself. It was legal now. The house was mine. "We're done here," Alan said. Vanessa stood so fast her chair scraped across the floor. She looked at me for the first time since we'd sat down. Her eyes were red, furious, broken. "You planned this," she hissed. "You played me." "No," I said. "I documented the truth. You played yourself." She opened her mouth to say something else, but nothing came out. Miranda grabbed her arm, pulled her toward the door. Stephanie followed, head down. Todd stayed behind, gathering his papers. "For what it's worth," Todd said quietly, "you had a solid case. I've never seen evidence that clean." "That's because it was real," I replied. He nodded once. Then he left. Alan and I sat there for a minute, alone in the conference room. The silence was heavy, but it wasn't uncomfortable. It felt like the moment after a storm, when the air is still and cool and everything smells like rain. "What happens now?" I asked. "You go home," Alan said. "Change the locks, move on." "That's it. That's it." He closed his briefcase. "Unless she tries something else, then we bury her." I believed him. The sky was overcast, thick grey clouds hanging low. The air smelled like cut grass and gasoline from somebody's mower down the street. I parked in the driveway, sat there for a moment. The house looked the same. White siding, black shutters, the front porch I'd rebuilt 2 summers ago. But it felt different, lighter. I went inside. The smell hit me first, Vanessa's perfume, faint, but still there. I opened the windows. Then I called a locksmith. He arrived an hour later, a kid maybe 25 with a tool belt and a clipboard. He changed the front door, the back door, and the garage. 3 new locks. I gave him a $100 tip. "You moving in or moving out?" he asked as he packed up. "Neither," I said. "Just taking my house back." He grinned. "Good for you, man." After he left, I walked through every room. The living room with the couch Vanessa had picked out. The kitchen with the granite countertops she'd insisted on. The bedroom where I'd slept beside a stranger for 15 years. I didn't feel angry anymore. I felt tired. But it was a good kind of tired. The kind you feel after a long job, when the system's running smooth and you know it's done right. I sat on the back deck with a beer. The sun was setting, turning the sky pink and orange. Somewhere down the street, a dog barked. A kid laughed. The world kept turning. My phone buzzed. A text from Alan. "Deed recorded, house is officially yours, congrats." I replied, "Thanks for everything." He sent back a thumbs-up emoji. I sat there until the sun was gone and the lightning bugs came out. Cold systems need steady hands. I'd said it to myself 1,000 times, now I believed it. I was in the garage organizing tools when I heard a car pull up. I looked out. Her sedan. She got out, walked to the front door, tried her key. It didn't work. She tried again. Then she knocked. I opened the door. She was wearing jeans and a t-shirt. No makeup. Her eyes were puffy. "Hank, I need to get some things," she said. "Everything you own is at Miranda's," I replied. "I had a moving company pack it up yesterday. They delivered it this morning." Her face went red. "You can't do that. This is my house." "No," I said calmly. "It's my house. You signed the deed. It's recorded. You want to argue? Call your lawyer. You're being cruel." "I'm being fair." She stared at me. For a second I thought she might cry, but then her expression hardened. "You'll regret this." "Maybe," I said, "but I doubt it." I closed the door, locked it, walked back to the garage. I heard her car start, then drive away. I didn't watch her go. I heard from Coop that she'd gotten a job at a boutique, part-time, folding clothes. I didn't ask for details, I didn't care. The week after the divorce was final, I got a letter from Capital South Bank. They were closing the fraudulent business account and flagging Vanessa's name in their system. Any future attempts to open accounts with forged documents would be reported to law enforcement. The letter ended with an apology and a $25 gift card to a coffee shop. I used it to buy a sandwich. Life got quiet after that. I went back to work, installed systems, fixed compressors, cleared blocked ducts. I worked a job in Red Bank for a woman whose AC had been out for 3 days in August heat. She cried when I got it running. I told her it was just a bad capacitor, $15 part. She tipped me $50 and sent me home with a plate of cookies. I started eating dinner at the table instead of standing at the sink. I read books I'd been meaning to get to. I fixed the deck railing. I planted tomatoes in the backyard, even though I didn't know what I was doing. They grew anyway. One Saturday in September, I ran into Vanessa at the Kroger on Gun Barrel Road. She was in the cereal aisle. I was buying coffee. We made eye contact. She looked away first. I kept walking. I didn't feel victorious. I didn't feel anything. It was like passing a stranger. At the register, the cashier asked how I was doing. Good, I said, and I meant it. The house on Hickson Pike stopped feeling like Vanessa's space and started feeling like mine. I rearranged the furniture, took down the art she'd picked out, and hung up some old photos from my early days working with Floyd. I bought a used record player and started collecting vinyl. Nothing fancy, just old country, some blues. I'd sit on the back deck in the evenings and listen to Hank Williams while the sun went down. Coop came by one night with a 6-pack. We sat on the deck drinking beer and not saying much. Eventually he asked, "You doing okay?" "Yeah," I said. "You sure? 'Cause you've been through hell." "I have," I admitted, "but hell's behind me now." He nodded. We clinked bottles. That was all that needed to be said. We went to a diner on Rossville Boulevard, the kind of place with cracked vinyl booths and coffee that tasted like burnt rubber. Jim ordered eggs. I got a burger. "I've been thinking about your case," Jim said, pushing his glasses up his nose. "The way you handled it, the documentation, the patience, that takes discipline." "I didn't have a choice," I said. "You did. You could have exploded. Most guys would have. But you didn't. You stayed cold. Cold systems need steady hands." "Thanks," I said. Jim leaned back. "I'm telling you this because I've got a client. His wife cleaned him out. Similar situation, he's falling apart. I told him about you. He wants to meet." "I'm not a lawyer." "No, but you're proof it can be done, that it's worth fighting smart instead of fighting loud." I thought about it. Then I nodded. "Tell him to call me." The guy's name was Kevin. He was 43, worked at the Volkswagen plant, and his wife had drained their account while he was on a night shift. We met for coffee. I told him what I'd done, walked him through it step by step. Told him about Alan Frost, about documenting everything, about staying calm even when he wanted to break something. "It feels impossible," Kevin said. "It's not," I replied. "It's just slow." He hired Alan. 3 months later, he called me to say thank you. His wife had settled. He'd gotten his money back and kept his house. He sounded different on the phone, lighter, like a weight had been lifted. After that, Jim sent 2 more guys my way. Then a woman whose husband had forged her name on a business loan. I wasn't charging anybody, wasn't trying to be a hero. I was just telling people what had worked for me, and somehow that was enough. By the time spring rolled around again, I'd helped 9 people. Some won their cases, some didn't. But all of them fought smarter because they'd taken the time to document, to plan, to think, instead of react. Alan started calling me his secret weapon. He'd introduce me to clients who were ready to give up, and I'd sit with them for an hour and show them it was possible. One night, after meeting with a guy named Marco whose ex-wife had faked a deed transfer, I sat in my truck in the parking lot and realized something. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't bitter. What Vanessa had done was terrible, but it had taught me something. That patience wasn't weakness, that silence could be power, that the truth, when you let it speak for itself, was louder than any argument. Cold systems need steady hands. I'd said it so many times it had become part of me. And now, sitting in that parking lot with the engine ticking and the streetlights buzzing overhead, I understood what it really meant. It meant control, not over other people, over yourself. Tall, clean-cut, wearing a polo shirt. He opened her door for her. She smiled at him. It looked forced. She saw me. Our eyes met. For a second, Neither of us moved. Then she looked away and took the man's arm. They walked toward the entrance. I loaded the plywood into my truck and drove home. I didn't feel jealous, I didn't feel anything. She was somebody I used to know, that's all. That night, I sat on the deck with a glass of whiskey and thought about the last year. The fights, the lawyers, the paperwork. The moment in Todd Vinson's office when Vanessa signed the deed and I knew it was over. The quiet that had settled over my life since then. I didn't feel victorious, I felt alive. I wasn't starting over. I was taking myself back. It was too big, too full of memories I didn't want to keep. I bought a small place in Red Bank, a 2-bedroom bungalow with a front porch and a backyard just big enough for a garden. It was perfect. I kept working, kept helping people when Jim or Alan sent them my way. I started teaching a class at the community college, an intro course on HVAC systems. The pay was terrible, but the students reminded me why I loved the work. One kid, a guy named Tyler, came up after class one day and said, "You make this stuff make sense." I told him that was the whole point. Life got simple, and simple felt good. I dated a woman named Laura for a few months. She was a nurse, divorced, 2 kids. We met at a church fish fry coop dragged me to. She was kind, funny, easy to be around. It didn't work out. Her kids needed more of her time than she had to give. But we stayed friends. She still texts me sometimes, asks how I'm doing. I tell her the truth, I'm doing fine. Because those years taught me what I was capable of. They taught me patience. They taught me that revenge isn't loud when it's done right. It's final. I took my dignity. I took my time. I took the truth. And in the end, that was enough. Because this world needs more people who know that the coldest systems are the ones that run the longest. Thank you for listening.